I just want to say, to start off, if you're ready, I just am very honored to have been the chair of the board for this last year and to have served on the Board of Curators for the last 6 years. As you may have heard from my speech, I believe we've come a long way in the last 6 years in terms of costs and efficiencies. Still more ways to go, but I'm confident that the university is in very good hands with Tim Wolf and the wonderful team he's assembled. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce the new board chair, Don Cups.
Thank you, Don. I am honored to be selected as chairman for the upcoming year. As you may have heard, that my theme for the year is going to be the year of the student, and to try to work on student issues this year. I know, as one of the chancellors says, it is all about the students, and
division provided over 400.
And so that concludes my remarks, I guess.
Questions? Great. Well, that's a pretty vague, sort of, obviously, because it's a good way to start. But are there specific goals within that larger theme at the moment that you're hoping to flesh out?
Well, we're working on the goals right now, but I can just give you some of them, and it may not be all inclusive, and they may change a little bit. But primarily, we want to look at student and parent satisfaction with the education that our students are receiving and the value that they're receiving for their tuition dollars. We want to look at retention to try to further improve retention that has been getting better. And because, if a student goes for a year or two and isn't able to complete their education, then it's a great loss of resources both for the student and for the state. And so that's one issue. The other thing is that I want to really emphasize is to give the students every opportunity to complete their degree in 4 years, the undergraduate degree in 4 years. One of the complaints that I hear as a curator is that parents say, well, it's taking 5 years. It's taking 4.5 years. It's taking too long. And some of that's the student's fault, but I think the institution has a responsibility too to go to the student at times and say, after their sophomore year, and say, you're not on track to graduate, and here's what you need to do to graduate. Now, at that time, and we give them the courses that they need to graduate, and we warn them and tell them, then it's the student's responsibility. And so that's a big issue with me. There will be others. We're already trying to address safety issues, and that's very important also.
I heard the word value a lot today, and I know that's the name of the tour that you're doing. Having covered this stuff for a while, it seems to me that if you go to Missourians and you say, we've got a great university, and again you go to Missourians and say, we our spending is low and everything, are Missourians going to think you need more money to keep it great, or are Missourians going to think, boy, we got a great bargain and there's no reason to give you any more money?
It's a great question. I believe that if you demonstrate value to individuals, and you have to really understand what is valuable to that individual, because it varies by individual, but if you can express to them what the University of Missouri system does on our 4 campuses, as well as in each of our 114 counties, and highlight that these services that typically individuals in the audience or individuals that you're talking to take advantage of those services. If you express those services and talk about how meaningful it is to a student or to a family, and that these services aren't free, then what comes out of that conversation is a connection that support for the University of Missouri system, or a tax dollar invested in the University of Missouri system, they can see how it affects them personally. And that's that trying to go from 6 degrees of separation, using that analogy, to 1 degree of separation, is that tight connection. And it doesn't mean that they've been on our campus or an alumni or their students are on our campus, or excuse me, their kids are on our campus. It could mean that they're just part of a community and they've taken advantage of some of the services that we deliver through Extension, or they've been a recipient of some of the great technology that has helped save lives or improve lives. So that's what we're trying to do, and express in a balanced way that this is a partnership with the state. We're not a private institution. Our mission is a public land-grant research institution, which we thrive in and we love, and we don't want to change it. But that's about touching all 6 million Missourians. But it's a partnership with the state and the local communities. And for a partnership to exist, all parties of that partnership have to contribute their time, their attention, as well as their resources. So that's the conversation that we're having across the state, which I can say, just using last year as a data point, the increase that we saw from the General Assembly and from the governor was the highest that we've seen in many years, and put on top of the core appropriation increase, the amount of money that we've got from capital on capital projects, maintenance and repair for the first time in 13 years. It is the best sign of financial support by Missourians to higher education. It's the best sign of support in the last 14 years, excuse me.
Curator Downing really made it a point to stress the support from state government this year, sometimes very pointedly, which was probably arguably necessary. Is that something you plan to do as well, even though the theme is going to be a little different in terms of financial efforts, I guess?
Well, you know, the first thing that we have to do the education of the students is financing. Whether it's coming from students or whether it's coming from the state or from donations or from wherever, we've got to figure out how to pay for it. And to provide the services and to provide the education, it all takes money. And so hopefully, as the president pointed out, the state will continue to recognize that and will have the ability to provide additional funding for the university.
Any thoughts about what more the university as a whole or the St. Louis campus can do to help the Ferguson situation?
Well, I think that UMSL has done considerable amount of investment in supporting the Ferguson situation in North County, St. Louis, and they'll continue to do that. And they continue to do that by initiating public conversation that invites discourse and conversation around this matter as a way of understanding different viewpoints and trying to bring sides together on that. They've also invested considerable more resource in providing mental health assistance, community assistance, fundraising, food drives, all sorts of different things, clothing drives, different things that they've done to try to help those that unfortunately are deeply affected by this. So they'll continue to do that. Also, our great researchers and our great faculty members have commented quite frequently about their views on how this took place and what are the things that we need to do on a go-forward basis. So this isn't going to go away. We need to continue to stay involved in the situation, participate in the conversation, and hopefully bring to light and bring to the forefront some ideas that move us towards the healing phase and have a more collaborative, peaceful community that thrives.
Mental health falls under the purview of the things you expressed interest in putting more resources toward it.
Correct.
For the campuses needed. Would that be something you consider?
It is, yes. We have already had the first round of investing in sexual assault and mental health requests from the 4 campuses, and we've got more dollars that are devoted to that will be allocated in the February timeframe is the current schedule that we've got in terms of incremental investment in mental health, sexual assault. They're very intertwined, and it's a necessary investment, and that increase in investment provides more resource available for students and those in the community.
I understand the curators have not made a decision yet on accepting the gift to purchase the Normandy Golf Course. Do you have any thoughts about it, Don or anybody?
All we can say is it's under consideration at this point.
Will it come up at the closed meetings today, do you think?
It is under consideration now, and I don't want to predict where that might go.
Governor Nixon hasn't necessarily moved too quickly on making some of these appointments in the past for these newly vacated seats. I'd be curious to hear, and this might be a question for you, but really for anyone, what having 3 of the 9 positions empty really does to the board.
Well, I certainly hope that doesn't happen. If a seat is open, a standing curator can extend his or her time in that role if they have that time available. So we still have the possibility of having a full set of curators. I can't comment on the timeliness of Governor Nixon's appointee for the 3 vacancies, but in the event that it doesn't happen immediately, hopefully our curators can stay on and continue to contribute.
Stay on the curator then?
You know, I would love to, but my term expires, and I happen to know that the governor is very focused on replacing me and others, so I don't anticipate staying on.
Have you heard from him about this?
I've heard from the governor's office. I've notified them of the expiration of the 3 curators' terms, and they're well aware of that, and I'm confident they're working on it.
Waving while you try and inch out the door kind of thing?
I've really enjoyed the time. It's not like I wouldn't want to stay, but 6 years is a good term, and it's time for some fresh ideas on the board, and I think that's the wonderful thing about our system. Every 2 years, 3 new curators are supposed to come on the board and provide their perspectives, and I think it works better when it works that way.
Anybody on the phone? All right.
Thank you.